Okay, Tom, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
So, what motivated you to start your own business?
I think my biggest motivation was just I was unhappy at my old career, and there's only so many days that you can wake up and think, oh, I hate getting up and going to work. I hate it. So that was my biggest thing, and I had the option. I knew that I was going to move out west, and I had been offered a position here on the West Coast doing what I was doing in journalism. And then I thought to myself, why am I going to move across the country and do the same job that I don't like doing? And it's not even a staff position. So I was like, well, I might as well do something that I want to do. And so that was my biggest reason for getting out of the business that I was in and starting my own.
Which was the news business, correct?
That is correct. I was in the news business for 15 years, yeah.
15 years.
Yes.
Okay. And I feel like there's a couple of things you're leaving out.
Did I yada yada over the best part? Seinfeld
Yada
reference.
yada over the 2 Emmy Awards you were awarded.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I have 2 for 2 different stories, and I think they were 10 years apart almost. I've won ones in between, but I don't have statues for them because it gets expensive.
Well, we can see 2 right there.
Yes, I can
Very
see.
impressive.
Yeah, thank you. You can
Very
show those later if you want.
Well, we'll have a little
Show and
B-reel.
tell. Okay. Yeah, so basically, so I'll give you a backstory. So I went to college at Cabrini College, Maxwell. I went to college at Cabrini College, just outside of Philadelphia, and I had every intention of moving back home to New Orleans where I grew up, but then Mother Nature had other plans, and Hurricane Katrina took our house, as you know, but
Yes.
listeners and watchers don't. So once we lost everything in Katrina, I had nowhere to go, so I was just like, well, I guess I'm just going to stay up east. My parents moved up there too. And I got an internship at NBC 10. And I went from being an intern, and then I got my first job there. They were starting up a talk show, and they needed an audience coordinator. So I applied for that position. I interviewed, and I got it. And then that job led to being a researcher for that show. And then it led to being a fill-in temporary for the union for working the control room, and then that spiraled into a different position of editing, and then that went into studio photography, doing a live television show there, kind of like a local version of the Today Show with an audience, stuff like that.
The 10 show, correct?
The 10 show, very good, yes.
I believe I was in attendance once.
I think you went to a few of them, yeah. So it was like it was just a small, compact version of the I would say the Today Show or any like big scale talk show. We would have big guests, so I went from doing editing for them, and that was and doing audience coordination to being a studio photographer. And then that basically every job that I held at NBC led me to a different position at NBC, which also led me to a staff position there. So in the span of, I think it was like 3.5, 4 years, I went from being an unpaid intern to being a full-time staff member and having benefits and a full-time job. Wow. And I never, all my entire time there, before I was staff, I always had 40 hours a week, if not more. So
Gotcha.
Sometimes, you'd be in a position where some people might only have, 20 hours a week, because they just didn't need that many people. But I was lucky that I was versatile. And whenever anybody said, do you want to learn this? I said, yes. Yeah. So I knew how to do multiple jobs. So I always had 40 hours a week, if not more, even when I wasn't promised a job or any hours.
You can rely on time.
Exactly. Yes. I try.
So that's going on. You're working at NBC 10.
Mm-hmm.
What else are you doing during that 15 years that kind of got your entrepreneurship career or what started moving you away?
Mm-hmm. It got depressing, and so there. I would work a lot of overnights. I think of my 12 of my 15 years there, I was on overnights and weekends, and it gets exhausting waking up at midnight to be at work for 2:30, and then there are lots of benefits to working that shift, particularly in the news business, but it got old very quickly, and it took a toll on my health. Excuse me. So, my grandpa, I can't talk. My grandpa was he owned his own business for 65 years in New Orleans as a shoe cobbler, and a lot of my family members have own their own businesses. My brother started and owns his own engineering firm. So during that time on the side, I was doing some still photography, so doing portrait sessions. What I really love to do still photography is landscapes, but it's really hard to make money doing that.
Yeah.
Because there are so many wonderful landscape photographers, and everybody's basically a landscape photographer now because we all have iPhones and we all have, a little bit inexpensive DSLRs that can take great pictures. It doesn't take much if you have something pretty in front of you. So I was like, if I'm going to make any side money, I'm going to do portrait work. So then I started doing and learning how to take portraits of people, maybe for headshots. And then what I really got into was family portraits. So doing just different family portrait sessions a lot of them were at Valley Forge Park. I did shoots in Old City, Philadelphia, downtown Philly, New Jersey, Delaware, you name it, I probably shot there. And so I did that for 10 years and I made a good chunk of side chains. And then that was like my first taste of, I can schedule when I want to schedule and I can not schedule when I feel like I'm overwhelmed or too busy. So that was the first of it. And I created the company. It's called Bayou Road Photography. And it was just a side hustle, something I did on the weekends or on my days off from NBC.
Yeah. What challenges did you face while you were starting up Bayou Road Photography?
Oh, God.
The first, getting going, getting off the ground, what were some of the things you ran into?
I think the hardest part of any business is just getting your first clients to pay you. Because I knew that I could take pictures. Did I know all the technical aspects of it? No. But people don't want to pay. And they don't want to pay, particularly anybody that doesn't have any experience. If I can't show you this is what I can do, they either don't want to pay you or they want to pay you not as much as you think you're worth. So that was probably the hardest part, is just getting the practice in to show and upload on, most of the time back then, Facebook, because Instagram wasn't a thing yet. Uploading on Facebook, showing what I could do, and then I think through word of mouth, I got my first family to pay me. Wow. And it was for a 1-year birthday shoot, and it was in Old City, Philadelphia. And the cool thing was they were the first family to pay me, and I took a shoot. I did their shoot downtown. It probably took me 3 hours. That type of shoot now I could probably do in an hour and a half, an hour if the kid's being really cooperative. So I went from doing it for that family for the first time and getting paid to 10 years later doing my last shoot in Philadelphia for them. And that's before I moved to the West Coast. So it's like a full circle moment. So, and basically they hired me, then they had a friend hire me, and then they had a cousin hire me, they had a coworker hire me. So that kind of started the first branches of getting my name out and getting more experience. More experience I got, the more money I could charge, the quicker I got. So I'm charging more money and I'm taking less time because I know what I'm doing now. Right. I would say that was the hardest part. Just getting your name out there and saying, hey, I kind of know what I'm doing. I can make you look good. You should pay me for it. Yeah.
So what was the idea you had when you moved to the West Coast, and what inspired you to go that route?
So I had always loved photo booths. And when I said previously that I was tired of what I was doing, might as well work for myself, I knew that it was going to be hard coming to the West Coast and just doing portraiture full time. So I knew I could do that as part of a side hustle. And then I was thinking maybe photo booths might be it. I've always loved them. When you were little, we'd see one in the King of Prussia Mall.
Right to it.
Yeah. Or we'd see
in the movie theaters.
Yeah. And then I think we got one the one framed upstairs in the family room is the one from the skating rink, Blue Cross River Rink. Yep. So
they're everywhere, sprinkled.
Yeah. So we would always stop and use them, even though they're $5 and
overpriced.
Yeah, overpriced. So, but smart business move. So, we would always stop. And so I had collections and I really loved photo booths, and I saw other companies doing it and it seemed like they were having some success. And so my idea was that I was going to get hopefully a vintage trailer and build it out to make it be a traveling photo booth company. Yeah. So, did I answer your question?
You did.
Okay.
So, leaving NBC, you got kind of a severance package. They were buying people out.
Yeah, I got really lucky with that. So I was already planning on leaving, and they didn't know yet. And I was going to leave in April or May of 2020. And then all of a sudden, as everybody knows, the world shut down.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, I can't go to California now because I can't really leave the house.
Yeah.
Except for work. I was considered an essential business. So couldn't leave the house. And I was like, okay, I can't go to California. And all of a sudden, a few weeks into COVID happening, they offered buyouts. And it was typically buyouts are for people that have been there for 35 years or a certain age and older, maybe 50 years and older. And you get certain amount per year you've been there. Plus, they'll pay you for vacations and stuff like that. So when they offered buyouts to everybody, because all the businesses, corporations were freaking out around the world, they wanted to thin out. So I was like, I'll take it. Yeah. They had no idea I was leaving. Right. And so I got approved for the buyout. And so basically they paid me to leave. So that chunk of change that I got from NBC after being there for X amount of years as a staff member went towards buying the camper cash.
Nice.
And there's no note on that. It's completely paid off.
Right.
Now I'm just working to get that return on investment.
Nice. And you came here, you got the camper, you started Nomad Photo Wagon LLC. So you got your CPA in line, you're starting to get things lined up.
Yeah.
What's something that you wish someone would have told you when you started your own LLC, started kind of expanding your business?
I would say take a business course. I took a free one. I didn't take any business courses in college. I was an English and communication major with a minor in political science. So I didn't take any business courses until I was thinking my first business idea, we can backtrack a little bit, was to open up a little cafe and photo studio in your hometown. There's nothing like that there. And then there are many different reasons why that didn't happen. So that was my first itch. Like, this could be cool. So I didn't take any business courses at all in college. And so then when I thought about the idea of opening up the coffee shop and the photo studio in Parksburg area, I was like, okay, I need to know something. So I think your mom found a little flyer at her work saying, free business courses to local residents. I think it was twice a week. I think we met on like Mondays and Thursdays or something like that at the local library in Coatesville. And so I took that course, and at the end of the course, you had to do a pitch like you were on Shark Tank. And so basically, we went in front of these people. I did my pitch. I created a little video, and I won. And I won like $100 gift card. I think it was Visa gift card. And then I could also, if I wanted to follow up, I could see if these people that said that they liked my business idea, if their companies wanted to invest in the business. Nice. So for multiple reasons, that never happened. And then I would say take a business course and learn about taxes. Taxes suck. Nobody wants to pay them.
Nobody wants taxes.
Nobody wants taxes, but that is certain in life. So I would say make sure you know the differences between like an LLC, a C Corp, an S Corp, and figure out which is going to be best for your business to protect yourself and your business, and to pay your taxes, but pay as low as you possibly can.
Right.
So I think take a business course and learn about taxes.
So you come here, you get set up.
Yeah.
You start Nomad Photo Wagon, but you also buy out a business.
Kind of, yes. So
explain that.
So when I got here in California, September 24th of 2020, drove across country with the dog.
Nola
May. And when I got here, just kind of settling in for the first few weeks. And then I was like, okay, I'm ready to order my photo booth. Yeah. And so I had, during my research, because it took me 4.5 years to actually pack up and move here and start to get things in motion. So once I sold the house, I knew that I could afford getting a photo booth. So when I researched what photo booth I wanted, I needed something very specific because I wanted it to look classic. I didn't want these white, sterile, ugly iPad booths. They're a dime a dozen.
Webcams.
Yeah, they're cheap. They don't deliver good quality photos, and they're not pretty. They're ugly. I think they look like tampons. It's just like I don't know. They're ugly. So no offense to any photo booth company that uses them, but they're just not my cup of tea. So I knew I wanted a specific aesthetic, and I knew I wanted something quality. And so when I Googled, I think I Googled it at 3:00 in the morning, working a shift at NBC on some shooting, something probably depressing. And I Googled it. I think I Googled vintage photo booths, and Union Booth popped up immediately in Google. And I clicked on it and I thought, wow, this is exactly what I'm looking for. Exactly. And I researched. I'm like, holy crap! They're in California. They're handmade in San Diego. Once I move there, I can order them, and I don't have to pay for shipping. I can go and see where they're made. I thought it was perfect. It was meant to be. And so when I moved here in September, I then called Union Booth, Francisco, the owner, and I said, I'm ready to order my booth. We had been in conversation over like a year through email and phone calls, and because I wasn't ready to pull the trigger, but I needed to do my research. And so when I called him and said, hey, I'm ready to pull the trigger, I'm ready to put that down payment, he literally said to me, great, but I need to sell my business. I need to have a different business opportunity in Texas. And would you want to buy it? I thought, my head just kind of was like spinning, and I thought, well, I don't have that kind of money right now. I just bought the camper cash, and I need some money in the bank. So basically, I'm interested, but I don't know if I can afford this.
Right.
And so, long story short, I bought all of his booths from him. So several open air booths. I think I bought 13 or 14 booths in total.
Wow.
All different models that he has hand built, and I took over the business. So basically, we worked out a plan so that I bought all of his booths, and then we have an option that I will buy his book of business. I'm already continuing to do his book of business. I have continued relationships that he started in the past, and I've formed new ones. And basically, I've kept I've tried. My goal was to always try and keep the service to what he started it as, and we've created a great partnership. So I'm considered a partner in Union Booth, and we will continue to operate that way until we figure out what our final plans will be for the company. But all directions point into being a full-time, part owner in Union Booth.
Nice. So can you describe some of the services you offer as a photo booth company?
Sure. So as a photo booth company, we offer 3 different types of booths, and we offer what I describe as more so of a premium experience for our customers and clients, where, like we were saying before, it's not a white stick with an iPad. Yeah. Everything's handmade. So we have for all wood, handmade in the United States booths built by my business partner Francisco. We offer open air booths, so ones that are basically freestanding, and then we have backdrops that our clients can pick and rent. Mm-hmm. We also have the camper, which is what I brought into the business.
Right.
And then we also have a enclosed sit-in booth called the Kenwood. So basically, think of your traditional sit-in photo booth where you sit in, you close the curtain, and it takes pictures, you get out, and it spits it out. It's like that. That's our most popular. It's my favorite, minus the camper. But it gives that nostalgic vibe, but with a modern touch of digital. So all of our booths are digital, even though they look like they might be film.
Yeah.
So there are companies that operate film photo booths. We love them. Photomatica, they're great. I want to own one day just to have in my house, but they're really expensive and cumbersome to operate, to develop, it takes you, I think, 4 or 5 minutes for one photo strip. So It's a lot more time consuming and a lot more just expensive.
Yeah.
So basically all of ours look vintage, but they're going to give you instant digital prints, high quality digital prints.
Right. So each booth experience, you get 2 copies, physical copies?
Yeah, so every time you use a booth, and when you look at the booth and you're like, what is this? Oh, we have black and white or color options. So on the screen, you'll see black and white or color. You'll see yourself, and you'll pick. I personally love black and white, so I'll pretty much always go with black and white. Hit black and white, and you can take either 3 or 4 pictures. That's all pre-programmed into the program that we use. And then after it's done taking those pictures, it gives you 2 copies. Right. So, and then we also deliver digital photos to our clients as well. So
in addition to those physical?
Yes. So, and within about a week or 2, usually a week, sometimes longer if we're really busy, but in our contract, we allot 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And we give them the digital photos as well. So they can download them to their computer. They can send them to all their guests. It's totally up to them what they do with it. We retain all copyright as far as like we can use them for advertising and stuff like that, unless we sign an NDA agreement, non-disclosure agreement. Sometimes we do, celebrity parties or something like that, and they don't want their photos out there. So we did a very big celebrity party for Thanksgiving. And it was great. Everyone was very nice. I was in awe of who was there, but I can't share any of those photos because as a business owner, my reputation lies with my integrity, and I have to stand by my word. And so we signed an NDA. So that way we couldn't share the photos, and that's fine because I know that I was there. The celebrities know that I was there because they took the photos, and at the end of the day, everybody's happy.
Right. So how do you typically market your business and find customers, and what's your method for that?
I'm very lucky that I have had to do very little marketing because buying into a business that's already existing, all my business partners did that legwork for years and years and years. So I got lucky with that. So to grow Nomad Photo Wagon, I've been using and partnering with Union Booth because it's a service that as the two separate companies we offer together. So I've been growing my own business that I was going to start from scratch by integrating it with Union Booth, which has helped tremendously. If I didn't have Union Booth, it would be a much more uphill battle. I think the biggest thing for them was, and still is for us, that I continue to do is create relationships with planners and coordinators. And so if I create good relationships with them and I make them look good, right? There's no issues. It's flawless. The bride and groom or whoever hired them is happy at the end of the night. They get good quality photos and I'm reliable. That's marketing because they know that I made them look good and that the next 2 weddings that they have booked, they're going to throw the bride and groom my way. So that's huge. Word of mouth is huge. I know we've used Google before, setting up the SEO, and we do bridal expos as well. I did one a little over a year ago. It was kind of frustrating at the time because I didn't feel like it gave me back a return on my investment because it wasn't cheap to get into that expo. It was over $1,000, and it happened in January, our slowest time of the year. So I'm like, I'm putting out all this money. I don't know. I don't think it's going to give me this return back. And it didn't immediately, but I booked 4 or 5 weddings just from that expo.
Wow. So it more than paid for itself.
It more than paid for itself, for the travel, for the time. So sometimes we do expos. Google, word of mouth, preferred vendor lists. When you go to different venues and stuff and you ask them, we had a great experience here. We loved working at this venue. We'd love to be on your preferred vendor list. And so that basically means that when they have brides and grooms that are coming to them to book, or they do book their venue, they give them a list of, hey, these are the companies that we have relationships with in the past, and they're reliable, and they're going to give you a good product. And so then they reach out to us because we were on their preferred vendor lists. So that pays. That's free. You shouldn't be paying to be on a preferred vendor list because your work should speak for itself. So that's probably the biggest things is relationships, preferred vendor lists, and then some Google and stuff like that, expos.
So my question was, how do you, I know you offer a few different customizations. What are typically the things that customers want to customize, and what do you offer?
So the biggest way that we customize is at the bottom. Here, you want to give me a photo strip example I can show? So at the bottom of the photo strip we offer, I'll show the camera right there. So if you have to choose, you can choose between 3 and 4 photos. And so at the bottom, we have a little graphic that can all be customized. So we have graphics that we have already pre-built in our system that we have examples of on our website, and then we can customize them with a bride's specific name and the groom's name, or the 2 brides or the 2 grooms and their date. And then we can also take elements, if they have monograms or a wedding website, we can customize and make them from scratch that way. Or they can use our pre-made templates. So that's the biggest way that we customize. Every event typically will have some type of name at the bottom of it, just that when their guests take home that photo strip, they know what wedding it was from. They put it on their refrigerator. They keep it in their scrapbook album, whatever they want to do with it. So that's the biggest way that we customize. For corporations, what we do sometimes is that they'll rent our big Kenwood photo booth, the sit-in one. And on the outside of that booth, I can send you some pictures. We're able to customize signs that we temporarily adhere to the side of it. So, for instance, every month we have Jobot, which is a great. They are a company in Newport Beach, and they hire us every month. So they're a job recruiting company. Every month they have a movie night. So since almost a year now, they've hired us every single month to go there, and we customize the side of the booth with whatever movie they're featuring that day. And then the top of the photo marquee sign is also customizable. And so it says Jobot Family Movie Night. So we can do that as well. That way it's more brand recognition for whoever wants to customize it and hire us. We can also do, you worked an event last summer for me where we did it for an American Express.
Oh, that's right.
On the Santa Monica Pier, right?
One of my most memorable events.
Yes, it was a memorable day indeed. But on that, for that event, we can also do text marketing. So basically, American Express hired us and Goldbelly hired us to do when the photo strip after you take the photo and right before it prints, a little screen flashed up that says, "Please put in your phone number," and you can get these photos instantly texted to you. So once they did that, they put their phone number in. The computer then took over in the magical world, the World Wide Web, took the image from my computer, texted to them, and within that text, American Express had some type of marketing. I forget exactly what it said, but I typed it in. They approved it. They gave me the script, and then so when they got that text message with the picture, that marketing was also in that text message. So it gives you instant marketing through text messaging.
Yeah, so you have a lot of options.
You have a lot of options. And in another company, if they wanted to do a strip and just do prints, but at the bottom you could put a barcode instead of a graphic. So that's probably our biggest thing is that when corporations want to hire us, they want their name on everything. So that's no problem. We can easily do that as well.
We talked about weddings, corporate events. What are some other events that you get hired for?
We do school events. Proms, dances. Every year we've done the Twin Oaks Elementary last day of I think it's 5th or 6th grade. They have a field day. They hire us. Sometimes they do 2 booths. Sometimes they do 1. We did their luau dance for father-daughter dance for 5th grade as well. So I would say school events is probably the biggest thing after weddings and corporate.
Yeah. So there's a kind of a diverse selection of people who want to hire you.
Yeah, baby showers. We did a 1-year-old birthday party not long ago. People love photo booths. People love photos in general, right? Look at Instagram, look at our iPhones. We're all constantly taking pictures, constantly. So to have that tangible print, people love it.
Right.
Take it away, put it on your fridge, use it as a bookmark. That's what I do with a lot of mine. So yeah.
What do you use to help manage your logistics when you're running your business?
So our biggest thing is our website subscription. So we have a company that we use called Tave, and there are lots of different client portals that you can use to manage things. Tave is the one that Union had already been using. When I started Nomad Photo Wagon, I was using a company called Honeybook. Does basically the same thing. It's a portal where on my website, once I get my website up and running, you can then link your account through Honeybook or Tave or whatever third party you're using to manage your clients, and then your contact page on your website. They fill it out. What date do you want? What venue? What's your name? What's your email address? And then we can send you through that. It sends us an email saying you want a quote. Here comes Maxwell. It sends us an email saying you want a quote. I then look up where it is, and then through that portal, it then sends them a quote, pre-made templates that we already have built in, and then the computer takes over from there, right? The computer sends them the quote, and then the next day, hey, making sure you got the quote, because sometimes quotes go to spam. They just think it's spam email. So it sends them a follow-up email saying, hey, just making sure you got this. And then we can then track all of our emails in that portal. So I don't have to go on my Gmail and think, what was that person? Everything's connected to them in our system, their date, their venue, all contact emails, all of our financials as far as whether or not they've signed a contract, paid a deposit, paid their balance. All of that is built within our Tave system and can be accessed on our phones wherever we go. That's the biggest thing.
What are some things you do to kind of keep the booths? I know they're vintage, but what do you do to kind of stay on like the cutting edge of business and running?
Good question. That's a challenge because I feel like sometimes we should be doing more things that like I see other companies doing with the whole, like a lot of people are doing filters now and stuff like that, glam filters, so that basically people look like they have flawless skin and they're like 5 years younger than they actually are. Yeah. While that's great and there's a place for that, that's not what we are. And so every time I think, oh, we should offer filters, I think to myself, no, at our roots and at our core, we are a old school photo booth company. Right. Francisco started this company with his wife, Christina, and basically they were some of the pioneers of what is now the modern photo booth business. They've worked with software companies to help, better their photo booth programs and stuff like that. And when they first started, the printers weren't even automatically cutting 2x6 strips. They had to physically cut them with a straight edge cutter, and it took way more time. Yeah. So when I think about, we should be doing X, Y, and Z of the trends of whatever the iPad booth is doing anywhere around the country or in Southern California, I think that's not what we are. Yeah. We're a company that offers high quality photos, high quality experience, and gives you that tangible print. Yeah. The digital images in my book are just a bonus because we are in a modern world. Yeah. So I try not to, I think the saying is, comparison is the robbery of joy or the thief of joy. I try not to compare us to other companies and try and be like, we got to be on the cutting edge of all the technology, because at the end of the day, people want good photos.
Right. And would you say your consistency really helps with that?
Yes. I think, you have to be consistent. And when we aren't consistent and something is our fault or our bad or whatever you want to call it, we always make it right. Always. Some experience. Yeah. You know what I mean? Some things, running your small business, I run the small business pretty much mostly by myself. Right. When I have multiple events, sometimes people help me. Most of the time, it's all me. I'm sending emails. I'm sending quotes. I'm doing graphics. I'm testing booths
on the ground.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of it, and I think that was important because I know how everything works, and so when things break, I know how to fix it. Preventative maintenance, I would say the biggest thing is to update your computers, because I've learned the hard way that is the biggest thing that is going to go when there's software updates and your computer's not talking to your camera or your printer. It just creates a whole ripple effect, and it's not good for anybody. It's definitely not good for my clients. So to get back to your question, you don't always have to be looking for the next best technology thing. You have to know what you do and do it really well, and you're not going to have filters to make people look good, because I know how to expose for lighting, I know how to angle, and I know how to take good pictures. So at the end of the day, whether or not you do filters shouldn't matter.
What are some future plans or aspirations that you have for your business?
Francisco and I have been talking most recently about our next step being, not having to do events. Yeah. Basically, he still continues to build the booths. He's right now redesigning the Kenwood model to make it lighter, more efficient for travel, because he sells these booths to other people who want to start companies.
Right, like how you were.
Right, but we have an exclusivity thing, contract, and understanding that he doesn't sell in Southern California because that creates direct competition with me. Direct competition with me takes money out of his pocket. Yeah. Takes money out of my pocket.
A little feedback loop.
Yeah. So basically our hope is to one day not have to do events. And if we do events, have booths fanned out.
Yeah.
And so that we have people that take care of all that stuff, and we just sit back and have the money come in and manage and
More
stuff.
of a passive thing.
More of a passive thing. I think, you know, ultimately we would like to have, so I operate the Southern California region. He's operating in Austin, Texas, Central Texas region. So the goal, I think, one day is to have different regions and then just have people run those, and we have different locations, and then just see that passive money income and not have to do any of the day-to-day grunt work of events, because it's grueling working events. And this is, I can't stress this enough, this is someone's life moment. I take it very seriously that if something goes wrong and it's my fault or our fault in general, I don't like that. That's why I'm probably always stressed out and my mind is always running like a freaking hamster on a wheel. It's because this is someone's life moment. I can't say, oh, I'm sorry, we went to the wrong place for your wedding.
Yeah.
Or this isn't working. Right. We can't redo this. So it's important and it's serious, even though you might say, oh, it's just a photo booth. No, someone hired us to document their life moment. So you have to take that seriously.
So you went from being on staff with NBC 10 to running your own business. What did it feel like to go from having a boss to kind of being your own boss?
It was exhilarating and scary all at the same time. I think in the beginning, one of the biggest things for me was I went from having a very structured, in the news business, you start your day and then it ramps up, and at the end, it's very, very stressful. But at the end of the day, it's done. But it's structured. I know what time my live hits are going to be. I know pretty much where I need to be and how much time I have to do things in, because there's a definite endpoint. When I moved here and I started, I felt like I had too much free time, and I thought, I'm sitting here. There's always something that can be done, and there is always something that can be done. But at the same time, I also had to think, I was running at such a high speed. And stressed out for so long that I didn't know that it's normal to just sit and not have to be running at 100 miles an hour at all times of the day. So that was the difficult in the beginning. And then when I started getting busier and I started taking on some technicians that were going to work, if I had multiple events in one day, they could work, event. I could work an event and someone else could work an event. I had to then figure out, how do I manage people? Because I know how I like to be managed, because I've had terrible managers in the past. My last boss at NBC was the worst manager I've ever had in my whole life. Yeah. He shall remain nameless, but he was the worst manager I've ever had in my life. And the interesting thing is that he thinks he was probably the best. That's just his ego getting in the way of the truth. So I knew that I didn't want to manage like that. So I think the biggest thing was for me to learn, how do I like to be managed? How do I want people to manage me? And that you might be working for me, but I have to respect you. I have to talk to you the way that I wanted my manager to talk to me at NBC and didn't. So I think that was a big learning curve, but I try and treat the people that work for me how I wanted to be treated.
Yeah, that's important.
And I have had the same people working for me since I took over. And they've all gotten raises every year since they've worked for me. So right. I think I'm doing something right. So I think the biggest thing is just treat people that work for you with respect, and they'll work harder for you.
It was great sitting down with you, Tom. Give you a hug.
Watch my mic. Watch my mic. You didn't cheers.
Cheers.
How are my levels?
Well, I can only see mine. Shit.
You do realize that I hate being on camera.
It's okay.
Max is chiming in.
Max said, "Pooh, he's upset he's not in frame."
I take pictures so I don't have to be on camera.
Right.
Okay. I take you seriously. So what did I...
Oh, okay, restart.
Thank you.